everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Art of Tuning In podcast. I'm Maria Furlano. Great to have you here. This is episode number 95, and it is how to access higher guidance. I know that a question that I receive all the time from people just getting to know me, from students, from clients, is how do I access the higher wisdom, the higher guidance that is so called available to me. Everybody says that I can access it. Everybody says that everybody can access all of their gifts and all of the wisdom of the universe. But many people find that they get stuck. And it's not that they're not trying, it's that they feel blocked, they feel lost, they feel scared. So I want to talk about some very practical things today that I hope will give you tools as usual. You know, I love to give you tools, but also help you think a little bit differently about what it is to really access higher guidance or higher wisdom for yourself. And when I say that, I'm talking about accessing a higher guidance from a different viewpoint, meaning that when we access higher wisdom or higher guidance, that guidance has a view, like a 360-degree view that we maybe can't see from our vantage point, from where we are right now in our 3D very dense vibration where we have to take care of all kinds of things. And so when we want to access higher guidance, we want to move into a different frequency in order to do that, because we're going to be receiving a different point of view to keep us on track. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I just want to say, if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for finding this episode. Thank you for joining me. My name is Maria Furlano, and I am a doctor of medical Qigong and a physician of Chinese medicine. And I'm also a coach. I work as a soul coach with people internationally with private clients. And I also have an online studio membership and I teach online courses. So if you want to learn more and jump in and actually practice the tools that I speak about, please go to theartoftuningin.com. All the links will be below, and sign up for Energy Insights. I share things with all of the people in my community, but also we have wonderful things coming up. There's so much going on over there. So come on over, join us. There is a free meditation offering every single week that you can join called Holding Space. So come on over to the Art of Tuning In and learn more. I'd love to meet you. And if you've been here for a while, thank you. Thank you for returning. I appreciate you so much. And please remember to subscribe. And if you like this material, please like the video, because it helps me get the information out to a broader group of people that I hope to support. So thank you so much for being here. So let's jump back in. How to access higher guidance, and why would you want to? I know that there's a lot of fear that is being put into the world, and it seems to be higher now than I have known it to be. And when that happens, you can either get swept away in that fear, or you can tune in to who you are and to a broader knowing in yourself. And you can be guided in a way that will keep you on path, on your soul's path, with what it is that is really best for you, for your family, for your loved ones. So when we learn to access higher wisdom, it really does shift our entire life, because we're not pushed and pulled and dragged along with all of the information that's coming at us all the time. We're able to stop, we're able to center, we're able to tune in, and we're able to receive greater wisdom. So that's the whole point of being able to access your higher wisdom. And of course, as you know, I teach tools and how to do that. But today I want to just give you a framework of how you can begin. So for thousands of years, we have been fed information. And whether you're religious, whether you're not religious, there has been ideas that have been put out into the world over and over again about how we should believe, or if you believe this way, you're a better person. If you do this, you'll receive this, right? All of these things. And they are in our subconscious. They're here. They're floating around the world. You can't be in an environment with so much input and not pick up some of the things that are said. And if you were in an environment where it was said over and over again, like how you should believe, it can be difficult to bring yourself into a new state. It can be difficult for you to say, you know what? I don't quite think that all that is true. And I want to go into a new alignment, and I want to go with what I believe, what my soul is telling me. I want to go into my accessing my higher self. You can have an earnest wanting to do that, and you can start to do that. And what can happen is that you can begin to not trust, because all of the information that you have been told, again, not only in this lifetime, but for thousands of years on this planet, tends to kind of come up. The logical mind comes in and says, you know what, I'm making this up. I'm not really hearing, feeling, sensing anything. I mean, who am I to be able to access a broader view? And what do I know that I'm accessing anyway? What is it? And this brings up actually a really good question. In my immersion program, a program that I teach people over several months, we go very deeply. And one of the topics that we go deeply in is who has your spiritual back. That's what I call it. And what it means is that what is it that you do actually believe in? If you took everything apart from all that you've been exposed to, could you tap into yourself and discern what you believe, what feels right to you? What is a knowing that you have of the universe, of what God is? Is there God? How was the planet created? How does energy work? How do we manifest things? How do we source things? How do we create in every moment? What is our energy doing? What is energy, right? So we ask all of these questions, and that is a very healthy thing to do. When you're on a path where you want to elevate your energy, where you want to have a spiritual knowing, a spiritual growth, spiritual expansion, when I work with people in soul coaching, we're getting to who they really are and removing all of the obstacles of what it is that we have been told or what we think we should think or feel about our life or about a situation or about a new path that we're going on. So all of those things can't be ignored. They need to be looked at if you want to truly go into a space that is a very neutral energy to be able to access a higher frequency. That is like the garbage, all that mental stuff. You know, you may have heard of the monkey mind. That is very true. Your mind is amazing. It's amazing. Our minds are amazing. But that monkey mind brings up so much stuff. It just never stops. So, one of the first things that we want to look at when we're wanting to access higher wisdom is we have to begin to calm our mind. So, in medical Qigong, which is what I specialize in, we call it guarding the mind. And what that means is that we're understanding that the mind can get very chaotic, especially when we try to quiet it, that the mind can keep going. And all of a sudden, there can be things that are brought up that you didn't even know were there. And guarding the mind means that we take the mind and we begin to calm it down and begin to center ourselves. And we are aware. We are aware that the mind begins to move at its own pace, that it begins to think of things that we don't need to think about, that it becomes super active. And we just gently, gently bring it in and bring it in. And this takes practice. And this is why, for also thousands of years, there have been energetic practices to help people to calm their energy, to center themselves, to clear their energy, to get rid of all the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis so that we can get very centered. What's really important is that we become consciously aware. So, changing anything means we have to become consciously aware about it. Then we can create the changes that we want. If we just try to jump in and access a higher frequency. When all of this stuff in our mind is going on, when we have all these beliefs that are coming up, when we don't know and trust what we're doing, which is what's happening with a lot of people who are getting frustrated, who think that they can't access their higher self, a higher frequency, a higher wisdom, a higher guidance. They're jumping into it thinking that it's supposed to be just super easy and that if they can't do it, then they failed. And that isn't true at all. It does take practice and it takes being aware of what you're doing in your life. If you're constantly needing to be active, if you're constantly checking your phone, if you're constantly thinking of something, if you're constantly making lists in your mind, if you're constantly thinking, I have to do, that is an energy that's running through you that has been conditioned. That's an energy that's running through that basically says, if I stop and I be quiet, I'm going to lose control, or I'm lazy. Those are the two most common things that come up. I'm trying to control my life so much that I have to be busy and I always have to be doing something and I always have to be checking and there's always something more to create and go, 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 go. So everything is out here. It's all outward motion. Or if I stop, I'm lazy because I'm always supposed to be doing something. And if I stop, sometimes this can really hit people in the control area because if you stop and you begin to relax, then you may not be on it. You may not be achieving the way that you were taught you should achieve. So stopping can be very scary for people. And this is something that we have to be really honest about. Stopping and getting quiet with yourself can really bring up a lot of stuff. And it's different for everybody, which is why I'm calling it stuff. It can be anything from insecurity, it can be anything from fear, it can be anything from a feeling of loss, feeling lost, feeling lonely, all of those things. Like when we get quiet, we hear different things. So if you're someone who's wanting to access a higher frequency, a higher wisdom, higher guidance, then becoming quiet, becoming comfortable with being quiet, with being silent, with stopping frequently is essential. It's absolutely essential. When you learn to tap into higher guidance, you're most likely going to learn that your life becomes more simple, that it becomes a little slower compared to what you might be used to or what others might feel is a good pace for life, because you need that quiet and you need that time to be able to stop, to be able to just be, to not constantly be giving out. Because when we access higher guidance, we're going in. It's not an outward thing, it's an inward thing where we come into a space of energetic neutrality, as you've heard me talk about before. And energetic neutrality simply means that we're coming into a space of alignment where we have taken our emotions and soothed them. We have calmed them. We have decided that we are not going to react to something or tune into something from an emotional state. We're going to tune into something from an energetically neutral state so that we can hear the guidance in a way that is not pushing us one way or another. It's very clean, it's very clear. Energetic neutrality is important because when we tune in to a higher frequency, whatever frequency we are, whatever we're feeling is the frequency that we attract. Let me explain. If I decide that I want to receive higher guidance, let's say that I have been listening to a lot of YouTube, I've listening to the news, I'm reading stuff, and there's a lot of fear that's starting to come up in me because I'm wanting to gather information, right? Does this sound familiar? I know this is familiar for me. I'm wanting to gather information because I don't want to just be ignorant in the world. I want to be able to take care of myself. And so I'm gathering this information from sources that I believe have more ethical information, are maybe truer. I don't know anymore what's true, what's not true, but I'm gathering information, considering it, but I'm finding that a lot of fear, a lot of worry, a lot of confusion is starting to come up inside me. And I realize that I still want answers. I still have questions about what is happening in the world? What is happening for me in my life? What are the best next steps that I should take? I still have those questions. I don't want to just shove that down and push them away because if those are coming up, you want to determine, is this something that I need to look at? Am I being given information at this time because there is action that I may want to take? Am I being given information at this time just because I've been listening to a bunch of things over and over again and they're all fear based and there's too much stuff coming at me and I have to just step back and I need to just be quiet, right? So sometimes we do want to take action. Sometimes we are being given information for a reason, and sometimes it's just an overload of information. But either way, whether that happens or not, when we want to tap into a higher guidance that is specific for us, we need to go to a space of energetic neutrality. Because if I'm angry or if I'm fearful, which is more of what I think is coming up in the world right now, a lot of fear, my frequency will elevate with fear, which means that what is attracted to me are other frequencies of fear, which means that I can't receive information that is of the highest guidance because that highest guidance is always energetically, emotionally neutral, meaning it's coming from such a high level of understanding that it's not going into fear or sadness or worry or guilt or shame or anger or even a huge, huge joy. It doesn't go into these huge extremes of emotions. It stays very neutral in knowing love, in knowing light, in knowing calm, in knowing alignment. And that alignment is very different than being in an anxious state and wanting to tune in and get information. And usually, what happens when we tune in those states of anxiousness or fear or worry or overwhelm is we may hear information or receive information, but chances are it feels more emergency driven or it becomes very confusing. We can often end up feeling worse than when we started. Of course, if you work with me and you are in my programs, you know about discharging energy. So in medical Qigong, we always discharge our energy. That means that we are shaking, we are tapping, we are doing specific movements, we are breathing a specific way. And one of the things that you can do right now is if you inhale through your nose and blow out through your mouth, and inhale through your nose and blow out through your mouth. So you inhale a little more quickly and you blow out through your mouth. That helps to discharge energy. What discharging energy means is that you're releasing excess energy that is not serving you, meaning you're releasing tension, you're releasing the emotional state that you might be in, you're releasing what you're carrying that you just don't need. And it's like a warm up, it's an energy warm up. So, besides also warming up our body, which we do, we warm up energetically. We warm up emotionally, meaning that we let go emotionally of what it is we're carrying that's causing us to be off of our center, that's causing us to not be able to be in alignment in that moment. And sometimes that takes several minutes. And the reason why I bring this up is because, again, I've talked to many people who get very frustrated that say, I'll never be able to meditate. I can't be quiet. I can't access guidance. And that's just not true. Every single person can meditate, and every single person can access their higher wisdom. We do it in different ways. We may experience it differently, but we all can do it because our guidance system that is specific to us is there specifically for us. It's not for anybody else. So you do have access to it. But what takes some practice and understanding is knowing that it takes a few minutes to release your body from all the stuff you're picking up, from all the emotions that are accumulating. You can't go from 100 to zero in a second. You just can't. So, what I mean by 100 to zero, if your emotions are in fear, if you're all riled up, if you've been dealing with a bunch of stuff, if your body is tense, so you're carrying all this tension, which means that the energy can't flow through your body well, you can't release that in 1 second and then all of a sudden be in this higher frequency of bliss. It doesn't work that way. I've talked about in other podcasts, and I teach this all the time. Frequencies are in different levels, which means that when we want to shift frequencies and we're going from like a high to a low, it takes a little time to get there. Going from a high to a neutral takes a little time to get there. So, patience is number one, and understanding that the physical tools, such as Qigong, such as yoga, such as Tai Chi, such as anything that gets your body moving, is really vital when you want to shift your energy. I see people try to mentally power it out. Like they say to themselves, okay, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get myself into center. I'm just going to do this. But that's all mental energy. And yes, your mind is incredibly powerful, and your mind does control the energy in your body. So does your breath. And so when you learn to combine your mind and your breath, you move the energy in your body completely. When you combine your mind, your breath, and movement in your body, and you understand how the body flows with energy, and that, for example, when energy is coming up in your body, how does that make you feel? A lot of times it makes you feel angry. Sometimes you feel a lot of anxiety. And if you can shift that energetic movement, meaning the energy is rising in your body and you know what to do through your breath, through movement, through mental focus, and you can shift that energy back down and ground yourself, you can move into a state of energetic neutrality. So it's that simple, but it takes some practice if you're not used to doing it. And I really want you to understand this, because it is so disheartening to me when people say, I can't do it, because you can do it. You just haven't practiced it, or you just haven't learned certain tools to do it. Everyone can do it. But even people who have been trained in this, who have been doing this for years and years, like myself, I started all of this energetic training and martial arts training when I was 12 years old. So this has been in my life a really long time. Even with that, it takes me several minutes. If I'm upset, if I'm afraid, if I'm dealing with overwhelm, if I'm dealing with a lot of stress in my life, if I'm very angry, if there's stuff going on, I have to go through the steps to release that and to move into center. So the practice of that builds this energetic, physical, emotional, mental muscle. And as you do that, as you use this energetic, emotional, physical, mental muscle, it becomes easier and easier and easier. You don't fight it. My body, when I go and I say, okay, we're going to release, I'm going to let go, and I do my movements, I do my breath, I do the things, I move into alignment very, very quickly. But it's because it's been practiced and practiced and practiced. And this is the key. This is what I want really everyone to understand, that if you practice being quiet, if you practice, especially in times when you're not in stress, because when you're in stress, your body is responding in a very different way. But if you practice these tools of quieting the mind, of just being comfortable with being quiet, when you feel the urge to check your phone, you say, no, I don't need to do that right now. That's a chemical urge that is actually coming out of us that has become an addiction to us. And they have been saying this for a very long time. This is not new information. There is a dopamine effect in the body every time we check our phone, every time there's an instant gratification that happens. And so we are actually dealing with an addiction when we're dealing with checking our phone, we're dealing with checking our email, when we're dealing with responding to something, because we have learned as a culture that that is what we do. And so when we step back from that, when we say, I'm going to put my phone in another room, I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to command control over my state of being. So before I said, when we get quiet, sometimes we can feel like we're losing control. And so we often don't want to become quiet because we feel out of control. Our mind just starts going that monkey mind about all the lists and things that we have to do. And oh my gosh, it's like time speeds up somehow and it's just rolling out in front of us. And we're missing everything just because we're being quiet for like a couple minutes. And seriously, I don't know if you've ever felt that, but I know that this is a true experience that happens. I know it's even happened to me, especially when I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. When you go to quiet your mind is still in that movement of go, 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 go. And now you're saying, no, we're going to shut things down. Now, it's important to shut things down. And what I mean by shutting things down is it's important to go to that quiet space because you reset your body, you reset your nervous system, you give yourself a little boost of energy. It's like taking a mini nap. You reset the systems of your body. So you actually have more focus in your mind. You respond to things better. You have a broader view of everything because you're rested, because you're not depleted, because you've reset your energy. Okay. So it's very important on so many levels to be able to learn to just be quiet. I want us to be able to be quiet and tune in and align our energy and be able to access our higher guidance and our higher wisdom and this higher frequency that really does know a lot more than we know just sitting right here. That's the goal. But just learning to be quiet resets your entire system and will bring you more focus in your brain and will bring you greater health and will allow you to react and respond much better in all of your relationships and all of your decision making. So there is a lot packed into this one little tool. But being conscious and understanding that when we go to be quiet, you might do it the first time and say, "Oh, this is cool. That was really easy. I went, I did, I centered myself, and I was quiet for a minute or two. That was great. I feel calmer." And then the next time you go and you say, "Cool, I'm going to do it again." And all of a sudden, it's not so easy. Your mind is going, or you feel the urge, like I said, to reach for the phone, or you start to make a list and you're struggling. There's a struggle inside. And this is where you learn over time to command your energy. You command from a very deep part in yourself. Your mind is a wonderful place, but when we command our energy, we command it from a very deep part of ourself. And this deep part of ourself is very hard to explain. You have to experience it. You go into this deep part of your center and you simply command that you're going to take this time to just be. As you begin to listen to that very deep part of you, that very deep part that's in your center, that is this part of you that is so strong with wisdom, that is all knowing, that is not the monkey mind. Because if you try to just control yourself with your mind, that's like saying, my mind is screaming and doing this and uncomfortable, and now it's going to calm me down. That doesn't make any sense, right? So our mind is going, kind of like, it's just going and going like a ticker tape. I just see it going, 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 going. So, where do we access the energy to calm that mind down from? That comes from a space within us, a deep space within us. And part of the beautiful journey of understanding your soul, of understanding your soul's path, of understanding of who you truly are, is finding and accessing that space within you that is the true essence of who you are, that has all the wisdom, that is in charge of your life and also in charge of how you think and how you feel. That inner part of you is what controls the energy. That inner part of you is what you access that says, take a deep breath now, mind calm. We'll get to that later. We'll do that list later. It's okay. You're safe. That's coming from a deep part of you. That's not coming from the same monkey mind that's going and going. And I think this is something that until people experience truly being in their essence, it's very hard to understand. But it makes sense, right? That your mind that is going, going, going is not the same energy that commands your energy to calm down. That comes from a deeper wisdom part of you, that comes from this higher wisdom. And it's getting quiet enough to be able to go inside of you and find your specific wisdom, your specific voice, this specific energy that can come out and bring you into alignment. I hope that that makes sense because, again, it's not easy until you begin to experience it. And of course, I do take people into this experience. And so, if that's something that you're wanting to do, please go to theartoftuningin.com and sign up for Energy Insights and come and join me in class and all of those good things because we want to be able individually to access our own essence. So, today, the first thing that we want to do in order to be able to access our higher guidance is to be conscious of getting quiet, of being conscious of taking a minute, 2 minutes, and then it moves to 5 minutes, then it moves to 10 minutes. It's a gradual process, but at will, meaning you could be doing anything and you say, you know what? I need to pause. Even if you're driving, you say, you know what? I need to pull over for a moment and I need to recenter myself. Maybe something happened. Maybe there's a lot of traffic, or maybe there was angry drivers, whatever it is. I need to recenter myself. I'm going to pull over. Don't do it while you're driving. I'm going to pull over. Or you're in the middle of your workday. I'm going to stop. Maybe you can stop at your desk, or maybe you need to go outside for a moment. Or, I mean, I don't love to go into the bathroom, but I've gone into the bathroom before and just to have a bit of quiet to recenter myself with no one bothering me. The more you practice it, especially when you don't need to, especially when you're not dealing with all the stress that's coming at you, the more you practice it in those moments of just getting quiet and listening to that depth of wisdom that's inside of you, using your breath, letting go. The more you practice that, when you deal with stressful situations, you will have so much control over those stressful situations. It will become second nature to you. You will understand that the urges of reaching for the phone or the reaching of the to-do list or I must be in action, those will diminish. You will retrain your energy. You truly, truly will. And when you retrain that energy, now we're just learning to go into our center. We're learning to breathe. We're learning to trust. And I will say that trust can take a little bit. Trust is not the easiest thing for everyone. And especially when we're dealing with fear, when we're dealing with things in our life that are difficult, it can be hard to go into trust because our mind is saying to us, well, I'm not trusting right now because I'm in fear and things are difficult. But we want to go to a higher vibration. We want to go to a higher wisdom that has better information for us. Because remember that your life, your soul's path is your soul's path. Your neighbor's soul's path is their soul's path. So, what might be working for them is working for them, but not necessarily will work for you because you're on different paths. So, when we hear information that's being given to the world, we're hearing it in terms of one communication of information. Is that information right for you and your soul's path and what you know, what your greater wisdom knows? And the only way that we're going to know that is if we learn to stop several times a day. And seriously, it is several times, and just tune in and be quiet. I mean, that is the art of tuning in. It's being able to go within and to access that wisdom within ourselves that only we know. No one has greater wisdom than you do. Nobody. And you really do have access to everything that you need. And we all get scared. We all get angry. We all get fearful. We all have so much joy. Those emotions are what make us human. Those emotions are what we navigate life with. Those emotions are how we grow. But when they become overwhelming, or when we get in one path, for example, we get kind of blindsided and we can get on the worry train and we're just worried about this and worried about that and worried about this. And we may not even realize how much worry we have. When we start to look at those things, we realize how much we're blocking in our life, and we realize how much more we could be freer, and how much more we could be creating, and how much more energy we would have if we could just let it go, tune in, and access higher guidance. And the first step is learning that it's okay to be quiet, truly quiet, and find that peace within us that is really conscious. Let that conscious peace within us calm and speak to the rest of us. I hope that if you are dealing with any kind of fear, worry, overwhelm, a sense of the unknown, and it's making you nervous in any way, I hope that you will remember that you do have access to what you need. You have lots of support from this beautiful piece within yourself. And of course, you have support outside as well. There's people like myself, other people who can actually give you the tools to be able to get there if you don't know how. So be in yourself this week. Be with yourself. Take time with yourself. You are the most beautiful person in the world, and you deserve all the best. I love you. I thank you for joining me. I will see you in the next episode.